First things first, congratulations on the Wicker Tree.
Oh, you like it?
Yeah, I did. I saw it at the Empire last August at Fright Fest.
Oh, you saw it at Five Fest, yes.
Yeah, it was great to see the film play to a packed house at the Empire.
And then, well, I was there, and
Yeah,
I was I really enjoyed that festival. I don't usually enjoy festivals, but I thought those guys ran it so well, and they had such enthusiasm, and the films they shot, they shows I thought were very good.
I,
It was really a terrific scene. Um, but they I think how to put it, they got the film, they understood it immediately,
yeah,
uh, and it has been shown here to audiences of film salesmen who have not been told that it's a black comedy and think it's a horror film. And they sit there in appalled silence, waiting for something horrific to happen.
yeah,
And it, I've rather go out of my way to introduce the film, and I think obviously that's the job of the advertising and all that, or the poster, whatever. But if you go into it expecting it to be particularly a classic British horror film, I mean, there's a pint of blood in the first 5 minutes, isn't there? Normally.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I mean, it's not that we haven't got horrific moments in it, because I think we have.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that I think it's a film that deserves to be seen by
Yeah,
audiences who are open-minded. I mean, it is
yeah,
thematically it's similar to the Wicker Man, but at the same time, it's a very different film, as you said. It's very funny for one, and I mean, of course, you hear about a film by Robin Hardy called The Wicker Tree, and featuring an appearance by Christopher Lee, and I think it'll be kind of impossible to not to have certain expectations. But I think
yes,
part of the fun of The Wicker Tree is actually having your expectations defied, and that because that does these
that's a very good comment. Very good comment. Yes, it is. You're, one is hoping as the filmmaker to reward you for having liked The Wicker Man and and come back for more, as it were.
yeah, I think that that doesn't happen nearly enough in cinema today. I mean, so often people just they know what's going to happen in films, and it was so nice to actually leave the film and want and have to think about what you just saw. I mean, it was refreshing.
There are, there are filmmakers like the Coen brothers who who always do something utterly original, or nearly always. So that's the continuity in their work, I think. Um, uh, these two films of which we speak um, obviously are similar in genre, and the one I'm about to make up in the Shetland Islands, God willing, um, is will complete this cycle of three films which are in the same genre. But I do understand why the film business has some problem with it, because there's a well-known Christopher Lee quote on the film, which he originally made on the book when I wrote it. I'm talking about the Wicker Tree. Um, he said it's comic, it's erotic, it's romantic, and it's terrific enough to melt the bowels of a bronze statue. Um, you know, wonderful sort of Christopher Lee hyperbole. But that just describes the genre, doesn't it? I mean, it's all over the place as a genre, and that's the fun, as you say.
So the film, The Wicker Tree, is based on your novel Cowboys for Christ.
That's right.
What inspired you to write the book?
The book was that's interesting. I'm trying to remember when I wrote the book. I think I wrote the book about uh, years ago,
Right.
6 or 7 years ago. I've got the exact date. Yeah. And I suppose I had a film in mind when I wrote it, but not terribly specifically. I mean, it's a novel I'm quite pleased with it as a novel. I mean, I've written thought, and I like this one. And on the whole, it's been realized in the film, insofar as one can, you know.
Yeah. So would you say that the Wicker Tree is more of a spiritual follow-up to the Wicker Man?
Yes, I suppose that's right. I mean, in the sense that uh, the genre, it's okay. If I can make homage to my own genre, it's homage to the genre that we created in the Wicker Man, and want to have another go at to see if it still works, and if it works with audiences in the way it did for the first one. In that sense, it's a sort of spiritual brother. I take your point.
So speaking of Christopher Lee, what was his initial reaction to the script when you approached him? And I believe you originally intended to cast him in the role that was eventually given to Graham
Well,
McTavish.
he actually read the book, you see, because he gave me a review for the book, which is what I quoted to you.
Oh yeah.
So he knew pretty much what was coming. Um, and I think he was always quite happy with playing Lachlan, which is what he was intended to play, you know, the lad. But he then went off and made a film while we were, you know, getting things together in Mexico, and had a nasty accident and hurt his spine very badly.
Oh right.
And he had all kinds of treatment for that. It's very difficult for him to stand for any amount of time. And of course, he's not in the first flush of his youth. When we made the film, he was already 86. And so I was more than a bit concerned that he would be able to last the course of the entire film in terms of all the standing and, you know, rushing around that he had to do. And so we agreed that he would just do a vignette. And I'm quite pleased with the vignette. I think it works fine. What do you think?
It's more of an appearance than anything else, but it's certainly, I think, an integral part of the story.
Do you think that it's a good thing to be ambiguous about who he is?
Yes, I think it adds to the kind of, again, as I mentioned, it's a film that leaves you thinking. I think it kind of adds
Yes.
to the mystique of that.
Yes, I agree. If you're going to do a cameo like that, you can't do it simply to get the character in, you know, for the billboard.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's got to have a real purpose, hasn't it?
I mean, I was listening to an interview actually that Christopher Lee did at I believe it was the end of last year, and he said he's limited with his time these days, that he only wants to do small roles that do have that are an important point, an important part of the story. And I think, with as far as the Wicker Tree is concerned, that's absolutely true.
I absolutely agree with you. I mean, and he was made to do that, because the extraordinary thing about Christopher is that when he's on the screen, you can't look at anybody else, really.
No.
He has extraordinary screen presence. I mean, that's why he's a sort of star. I mean, it's wonderful to work with him, because you know that when you put him there, you've got something really potent going on, almost regardless of what you have given him to say. Although, of course, he says it very well, and he's got that wonderful voice, that sort of deep brown voice of his, which I tried to have on the soundtrack before he actually appears. So you think, who's that?
Oh, yeah. He certainly commands the screen. So obviously the film was given the title of The Wicker Tree rather than the book, which was Cowboys for Christ. Was the title changed to help sell the film?
Well, I think it was a bit of both, really. Certainly, the Cowboys for Christ thing had problems in the States, because when that was the title, because we had one investor who was going to put quite a lot of money into the film withdraw, because he was worried about a film with Christ's name in in it.
Oh yes.
Uh, Americans are rather more extreme in that way than we are. Um, and So that influenced it a bit because we didn't want to alienate a great piece of the American audience. Um, Although it seemed absolutely stupid to it's far from an anti-Christian film. It's you pay your money and you take your choice, really. I think.
Yeah.
Um, but the other thing was that I saw a tree, not unlike the tree that we eventually created, and I thought it would be fun to have uh, a wicker icon, which was as striking, perhaps in some ways, as the Wicker Man. And so I and my art director designed that tree, and I think the guys who made it, who were sort of woodsmen from down Dumfries way, did a marvelous job. But they do quite. They do the effigies, or whatever you like to call them, for the Wicker Man Festival. They make new wicker men to be burnt every year at the Wicker Man Festival,
Oh right.
and in Galloway. And what is wonderful about their work is they manage to put sort of movement into them. I mean, these people almost look as if they're dancing, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the skill, absolutely, of the. All I did was a sort of sketch um, of two figures sort of coming together and rejoicing, and they've absolutely got it. I think. I'd like to have one put in my garden, actually.
Yes, it definitely looks very good on the screen.
Yes, I think
Uh,
so.
I think well, the way you mentioned the title change, I think that's actually quite ironic, given the film's story. I mean, obviously there's the culture clash in the film itself, but then there's the kind of grinding between Christianity and paganism. And I think that kind of there's quite a lot of irony in there about um, the themes of religion in the actual film, and then there you have an investor who is worried about the religious aspect of the original title.
Yes, it is. It is ironical. Um, Irony isn't the great forte of our cousins across the Atlantic, I don't think. Uh, uh, Although that's not really fair because I think Woody Allen does a pretty good job
Yes.
being ironical. um, in fact, a very good job. Um, so it's not an exclusive for us, really. But uh, I'm glad you like the jokes, because I think the jokes are quite funny. What did you think of Lolly? Have you seen her in Foyle's War?
I haven't. No, unfortunately, I've never seen the
You might be
series.
intrigued if you happen to be switching on the television. Have a look at Foyle's War, because she is goody two shoes, and she butter would melt in her mouth. And, uh, uh, she's a really nice lady. And then, of course, she plays this. She loved playing the opposite in the film. It was great fun for her. Every now and then she would say, "Oh my God, if my granny could see me now."
I can imagine it was quite a refreshing role to play.
Yes,